Tonight, it's a brand new year, but does that mean it's a brand new us? And it's official, orange really is the new black. Finally, Mexico officially extradited El Chapo to the United States. He might be a drug dealer, but at least Mexico's sending their best. This...
Ammad bhai, wo aa rahe hain?
कौन आ रहा है?
Firefall log, Ammad bhaiya.
क्या? What? कौन? Firefall लोग?
ICE officers, bhaiya, ICE officers.
ICE officers? Who the hell?
हमको जाना है,
Ammad
अभी.
Quraishi,
What the
come
hell?
with me.
Holy No! Oh, thank God. It was all just a nightmare. No! Welcome to reality, everybody. It is great to have you join us in here, out there, all around the world for our very first and possibly last inauguration special. Now, longtime viewers of my show know that they are actually short-time viewers because as of this viewing, they are watching the 120,000th millisecond of the very first official episode of reality. As for all you short-time viewers, or stewers for short, I am your host, Ammad Quraishi, and boy, do we have a lot to do. A fractured nation that we need to heal, and a warm globe that we need to cool. But before we get to all that, let me just take this moment to say, I know that this show has my name on it, and my face, and is really just me talking at you. But I'd like you all to know that this show isn't about me, it's about you, the realists. Now, you may be wondering, who are the realists? Well, it's anybody who tunes into reality, airing Saturday nights on ATV, to watch me and learn to distinguish fact from fiction, real news from fake news, and of course, CNN from a failing pile of garbage. Sure, it may seem like facts are a thing of the past, but that's all right, because just yesterday we set our clocks back 67 years. So if facts were a thing of the past and we just accomplished national time travel, aren't facts really a thing of the present? So, having established that facts are a thing of the present, I call on all you realists out there to join me on this endeavor to usher in a new age of reason, sanity, common sense, and reality by watching my show. Seeing that this is reality's inaugural show, it only seems fitting to start off the year by taking a break from reality to focus on President Donald Trump's inauguration. Let's take a look at all the festivities, shall we? Woo! The excitement! The passion! The old New England Patriots logo. Come on, Kellyanne. You could have worn something a little more, patriotic. By not wearing something inspired by the City of London. America is England's greatest gift to the world. You don't have to reminisce about what was once the British Empire. Live in the moment. But I get it. This moment wasn't yours. It was the president's and the first lady's. The president-elect. Oh my God! Donald Trump brought Michael Jackson back from the dead. The inauguration is turning out to be a real thriller. But wait, could we go back to the president there for a sec? Why does it look like he's scowling like a kid who was forced by his parents to go somewhere he didn't want to be? Like, he's just telling his parents, but I don't want to go inaugurate. And Ms. Putin is just like, it's okay, you enjoy anyway. But he went out there, did his thing, he didn't get stuck in a hallway with Ben Carson, listening to Chuck, a clergyman, another clergyman, a clergywoman. He saw Pence get sworn in, got himself sworn in, and gave his inaugural address.
We are one nation, and we are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. We are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the people.
Wait a second. That last tidbit sounds familiar.
We take Gotham and we give it back to you, the people.
What? Bane is our president. Batman, where the f*** are you? Somebody get the bat signal. Oh, really? We don't have one? Maybe we should get one. Why? Because of this.
Now, here's the thing. I already have my expression in 4 years.
Let's
Are
hear
you
it.
ready?
I'm ready.
Keep America great.
Now, you may be thinking, but Ammad, that sounds nice. What's wrong with it? Who wouldn't want to keep America great, right? Well,
You gentlemen understand what's at stake here.
Maybe it's our duty to help protect her.
Here they come.
yeah, that was a little bit too creepy for the night, right? But let's play it again with a some changes. Let's change it up a bit. Come on, Cody.
I already have my expression in 4 years. Keep America great. Do you like it? I think I like that, right?
That seems fitting. All right, but we talked about the inauguration, but I don't know, it just feels like something's missing. All right, the people. Mr. President, what happened? I thought you said that it'll be a great show. Did you mean that sarcastically, or was it meant for the people who weren't going to be there? Also, didn't you say that the inauguration was turning out to be even bigger than expected? That was bigger than what you expected? That was smaller than your hands. You know, for all the hype of the event, it's kind of like when Arnold Schwarzenegger took over The Apprentice and the ratings tanked. But if we were to sum up the day in terms of ratings, I think the best review would be in your own words, sir. Wow, the ratings are in, and believe me, Donald J. Trump got swamped or destroyed by comparison to the ratings machine, BHO. We'll be right back after this.
I'm sure you knew when I bit off more than I could chew, and through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not the right to say the things he feels, and not the words of what he owns. Let the record show I took the blows and did it my
Our main story tonight centers on the rest of the transition of power. Even though Donald Trump has been sworn in as our president, he still faces the hurdle of getting his government together. That means hiring his staffers, setting an agenda, and working with Congress to put it in motion. But most notably, it's getting his cabinet secretaries approved. Yesterday, 2 nominees did get approved. General James Mad Dog Mattis, who will head the Department of Defense, and former Marine General John F. Kelly, who will head the Department of Homeland Security, which coincidentally is right across the street from us. Now, Mattis isn't too shabby, but R. Kelly over here wouldn't mind building a wall around Katzen, maybe making it a nice closet. But these are not the only 2 nominees who made headlines this week. Enter Betsy DeVos. Back in November, President Donald Trump nominated her for Secretary of Education. And sure, this billionaire businesswoman from Michigan has no professional experience in public schools, has never attended a public school, nor ever sent any of her own children to them. But that did not stop her from visiting Capitol Hill on Tuesday for a Senate confirmation hearing.
But I am very honored that President-elect Trump has asked me to join his team, and am grateful for his dedication to education. I think we can all agree that learning is a lifelong pursuit. I share President-elect Trump's view that it's time to shift the debate from what the system thinks is best for kids to what moms and dads want, expect, and deserve. If confirmed, I will be a strong advocate for great public schools. But we should support a parent's right to enroll their child in a high-quality alternative. Our nation's schools are filled with talented, devoted professionals, but even our best schools don't work for all. Escalating tuition is pricing aspiring and talented students out of college.
Everything sounded like it was going well until Senate Help Committee Democrats ripped her a new one by asking her questions related to education.
Foremost.
And if confirmed, will you insist upon that equal accountability in any K-12 school or educational program that receives federal funding, whether public, public charter, or private?
I support accountability.
Equal accountability for all schools that receive federal funding.
I support accountability.
Okay, is that a yes or a no?
I support accountability.
Do you not want to answer my question?
I support accountability.
Okay.
Can you believe it? Tim Kaine had the audacity to ask DeVos a yes or no question. Of course, Betsy DeVos wasn't having it, so she decided to remember the old saying, when in doubt, become a broken record. There's an explanation for why she would want to remain as ambiguous as she can on that question. Well, there are two. The first is that the committee chairman changed the rules limiting questioning to only one round as opposed to the multiple rounds that other nominees got. This way, she could run out the clock or stonewall to limit any further inquiry on specifics. The second is that one of her reform ideas is to effectively subsidize private schools in a way that would draw money away from public schools, whilst at the same time not enforcing the same accountability standards on those schools that the public schools face. This could very well mean that taxpayers may be funding schools that have less qualified faculty, weaker performance, inadequate resources, and maybe using those funds to drive a specific ideology. That's not her only caveat, though. She evidently lacks knowledge of educational fundamentals. For example, she doesn't quite know how to differentiate between proficiency and growth.
And I would like your views on the relative advantage of measuring, doing assessments and using them to measure proficiency or to measure growth.
Thank you, Senator, for that question. I think if I'm understanding your question correctly around proficiency, I would also correlate it to competency and mastery, so that each student is measured according to the advancement that they're making in each subject area.
Well, that's growth. That's not proficiency.
Look, if it helps, proficiency is how much a student knows. It is more or less concrete and a quantitative form of measurement. Growth, on the other hand, is an assessment of how much a student has improved. And this could be a bit more arbitrary depending on what the metrics are. But all right, the SAT is still relatively new. They took out that writing section, and sure, her verbal proficiency may not have been the best, nor grown by the end of that hearing. But let's see how she did on the math.
Well, in terms of throwing numbers around, you said that student debt has increased by 1,000% since
980% in 8 years.
I'm sorry?
980%.
That's just not so.
1,000.
It's increased 118% in the past 8 years.
Now, this is very revealing about a nominee who will be overseeing the national student loan system. Betsy DeVos's claim is legitimately incorrect. According to Federal Reserve figures, over the last 8 years, outstanding student debt grew from about $659 billion to approximately $1.4 trillion. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but I'm pretty sure you calculate the percent by taking the difference between the two and dividing by the original, which would give you 112.44%. Nowhere near that 980% figure, yet it's still only a bit less than Franken's 118. To be honest, I'm not even surprised that she doesn't know the difference between the two, or that she doesn't know how to do math. Like, what were we supposed to expect from somebody who has no background in educational administration? But I wonder if there's anybody who shares the same sentiment.
And I was kind of surprised. Well, I'm not that surprised.
Damn, Franken's got some shade. But that kind of reminds me of the side eye from that old Jewish fellow we saw running for president last year. What's he been up to lately?
Will you work with me and others to make public colleges and universities tuition-free through federal and state efforts?
Senator, I think that's a really interesting idea, and it's really great to consider and think about. But I think we also have to consider the fact that there's nothing in life that's truly free. Somebody's going to pay for it.
Mexico! Oh, my bad. Sorry. I thought she was asking who was going to pay for it. Got a little ahead of myself over there. But okay, let's get back to what we were talking about. I have to hand it to DeVos. She is quite proficient in delivering non-answers. But it does make you ask yourself, why would somebody who's so demonstrably unqualified to hold an office even be considered for that office?
Would you be so kind as to tell us how much money your family has contributed to the Republican Party over the years?
Aye, there's the rub. For in that inquiry, what answers may arise?
I have heard the number was $200 million. Does that sound in the ballpark?
Collectively, between
over the
my
years,
entire
yes.
family, that's possible.
Okay.
Now, at least she gave some sort of answer to this question. The $200 million figure comes from a New Yorker article that traces the DeVos family spending back to 1970, when they began directing at least that amount into what was then called the New Right. Over the years, the family has donated to many, but Betsy DeVos has most notably been a donor to Senator Mitch McConnell, Chuck Grassley, Rob Portman, Jeb Bush, Carly Fiorina, Bobby Jindal, John Kasich, Marco Rubio, and Scott Walker, amongst many others. Although she did spend heavily in 2016, she did not donate towards the campaign of Donald Trump. Now, pointing this out isn't a defense of DeVos, but it does seem to offend some senators, like Orrin Hatch and Susan Collins.
Unlike others here who may be interested in attacking your donations, I know you want to do right by all children, so I will stick to focusing on how we can work together.
Any suggestion, such as was made earlier, that your nomination is linked to your political contributions is really unfair and unwarranted. And I just want to say that for the record.
So now it makes complete sense. They're trying to push her through confirmation regardless of how unqualified she is. It's just a huge metaphor for our education system. Here's somebody who doesn't meet the metrics for success, whether by proficiency or growth, yet because of how our assessments work, it looks like she's still going to get by. The only difference is, in this case, getting by isn't moving into the next class, but being in charge of a federal department. We'll be right back.
They came from across the country, pouring off buses, clogging the roads, and cramming the subway. 275,000 riders by late morning, compared to 193,000 for yesterday's inauguration.
Welcome back to the program. It is great to have you with us. Tonight, we end on news that the Women's March on Washington has ousted President Trump. Just kidding. I don't have anything for you on that. The march is actually going on like right this second. There are a lot of people out there. So if you're in DC, don't get lost in the crowd. Anyhow, we've covered most of what there was to cover in this inauguration. And now I feel like we should end with a few words about the next 4 years. So maybe some camera 3? Nation, there is no doubt that our nation is divided. Not only along the lines of rich versus poor, Democrats versus Republicans, Facebook versus Twitter, or even Coke versus Pepsi. Pepsi is hands down better. Don't even fight me on this one. Even yesterday, we saw the physical manifestation of the stark contrast in our ideological divide. North of the National Mall, we saw protests take the city and a handful of what are generally believed to be anarchists causing chaos, disrupting the peaceful protests. South of the National Mall, however, all seemed quiet. A sea of red and a getup that would best be described as Midwestern middle class. There, we saw a more uniform opinion without any room for dissent. And it's easy to think to ourselves, what in the ever-lucking because it felt as though there wasn't a true effort to heal the divide. If anything, we're more divided than we were on election day. And it doesn't help that neither side is willing to engage in any meaningful and civil discourse. It's as if our nation is sniffing glue. Elmer's multi-purpose, washable, divisive glue. Oh look, it's completely toxic and not safe. So that brings us to the next question. What do we do? Honestly, I don't have the answer to that question. There are too many things we could do to list. But two answers that I can give you are that, for one, we need to just engage with each other. And not just those who fit our own conservative echo chambers or liberal bubbles. I mean, listening to people on the other side, no matter how much you may disagree with them. And two, we have to remain vigilant of all sides and call out the bullshit that we see wherever it is, even if it's on our own side. But more importantly, that premeditated institutional bullshit that we're going to have to deal with over the next 4 years. Take yesterday, for example. Soon after President Trump was sworn into office, he sat down to start signing executive orders, which is ironic because Republicans historically for the past 8 years hated executive orders. That irony aside, the man whose fans regard him as the people's candidate, the one who'd look out for the little man, signed an executive order that canceled the discount on fees for the Federal Housing Authority's mortgage program. The discount, which was to go into effect January 27th, was supposed to offset the rising mortgage rates and would have saved low-income and first-time homebuyers a considerable amount of money. But by rolling back this discount, the president is making it even more expensive and effectively more difficult for middle-class Joe to buy a home. Now, seriously, what's the deal with that? But in the context of what we were talking about, the bigger problem would be people's silence on this, particularly those who voted for or are fans of this president and his administration. So nation, it's time we stop sniffing the glue and instead speak up and to one another whilst fighting peacefully for each other. Kind of like Jesus or Bernie Sanders. Maybe even a little bit of Al Franken. And on that note, thank you for tuning into Reality. Good night.